Saturday Social, brought to you by EA Sports FC with PlayStation 5.
Got to talk about the Champions League. In case any of you missed it, here was the draw. Now, the draw, interestingly, was done for the quarter-final and semi-final stage. So Arsenal will play Bayern Munich, Harry Kane against Arsenal again, and Man City drawing Real Madrid. Absolutely huge tie, that. Interestingly, the winners of those two ties play each other. The other half of the draw, so Atletico against Dortmund, the winner of that tie, will play PSG or Barcelona. Dougie, you were covering this night. Thoughts on that tie?
Oh, I mean, what a set of fixtures. Great chance for Arsenal to exact some revenge on Bayern Munich. They were beaten 10-2 a few years ago at the last 16 stage. Haven't been at the quarter-final since 2009-10. For Man City, I think they won't be delighted with that draw against Real Madrid, the 14-time champions. Probably the worst draw they could have got, although they did beat them quite comfortably in the semi-finals last year. And then the other side, we're going to have an underdog side in the final. Probably looks like PSG, potentially the favourites on that side of the draw. But I wouldn't write off Atletico Madrid either. An amazing performance against Inter Milan in midweek.
Oh, that's why he's a European football expert. Look at that.
See that, everyone. Ellis, thoughts?
I think it's like, yeah, it's really nice that side of the draw that you're going to get one of like PSG or like I'd obviously Dortmund get into the final. It feels like it's been a terrible season for them. It's funny that like PSG are technically underdog considering how much money they've thrown at football over the last decade or so. With Mbappe arguably the best player in the world. So it's that side of the draw excites me more than the side that, you know, was maybe more of an English interest in for me.
Yeah, it brings us nicely onto this section as well, because we thought, as we've got a European football expert and a man that travels Europe watching a lot of games, perfectly placed to pick every Champions League team's best player. So this is the 8 teams that are remaining. You're both going to bring a name to the table, and then we'll battle it out, won't we?
Yeah, very, very simple. Obviously, all 8 sides. We've done it in draw order, so this is the order the teams were drawn out of the hat for the quarterfinals. You're going to pick your best player. If there's any disagreement between you two, me and Smithy will decide based on the best argument put forward.
Yeah. Love it.
How much disagreement is going to be? I'm not too sure.
I know, interesting. Let's start with the, as I say, first name drawn out of the hat, Arsenal.
Yeah, I think we've both gone for the same one.
We've both gone for the same. We've gone for Bukayo Saka. I think it could have either been him or Odegaard, or Rice even.
Yeah.
They've got a good football team. That's controversial. But just I think he's just such a game winner. I think he's so good. Massive for Arsenal and for England as well. So I just think it had to be him for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Everyone kind of knows about his sort of statistics. Season on season, he's now got that sort of Salah-esque consistency starting to get going. But as you say, for England, massive. First Arsenal player to ever be named England Player of the Year in 2022. Same in 2023. I think he's one of the crucial reasons why I'm pretty confident for England having a decent chance of making the final at least this summer. He's approaching now Ashley Cole for Arsenal appearances all time. He's already gone past Sol Campbell. Still so young. What a player.
Yeah, top scorer this season, 16 goals, 13 in the Premier League. Best season of his career in terms of goal contributions. Just Declan Rice, just want to talk to you about him. How close was he? Because he's had a brilliant season as well. I'm not surprised Saka's there. I'm surprised there's not any sort of disagreement with regards to Rice being chucked in the mix as well, because he's been such an important player for Arsenal. Yeah,
absolutely. I think Saka's maybe had just an outstanding last couple of months when Arsenal have been on this amazing run of form, but Rice may be more consistent across the entire season. You know, big pressure, that price tag, very few £100 million plus signings work out. But as we're going to discuss in this list, a lot of the big money signings last summer, the likes of Bellingham, Kane, Rice have really hit the ground running. And for Rice to equally or instantly look so comfortable at that level just speaks volumes of his quality and character.
Where do you come down on the world-class debate? Because there was the kind of chat, wasn't there, with Saka about he's got to prove himself in Europe. From some pundits, we saw Rio Ferdinand quite vocal on his thoughts that he wasn't world-class yet. Arsenal fans and, you know, I think Bukayo Saka is world-class. Where do you think?
I think he's world-class. I think he is one of the best wingers in world football, so by definition should be considered world-class. I don't see many better wingers in the world right now. I'd say he's in the top 5 for me, so definitely world-class. I don't think it's much of a debate. I think anyone who's actually trying to debate otherwise is just trying to cause a bit of controversy, unless you're about to say otherwise.
No, I totally agree. I think my judge of world-class is, are you the best sort of 3 in your position in the world? I think Saka, probably after Mo Salah, is probably the best right winger in the world. Maybe Ousmane Dembele on his day, if Foden's going to play there. But in terms of consistency, this guy's done, ever since his Arsenal debut, really, he's been sensational.
Stick him up then.
We only need to put one up, so...
Quite an easy one, no disagreement. I think the next one, Joe, I'm guessing...
Should be Bayern Munich, so you might have to reorder yours.
Yeah, let me just find him.
I'm guessing this will be quite an easy one as well.
But I'm guessing you've both gone for the big man himself,
right? Harold. Yeah, I think, again, I talk about those £100 million signings working out. This guy, he might well end the season without a trophy, which will be frustrating for him, given that trophy hoodoo that he carried over from Spurs. And it's going to be a very annoying place, Twitter, if they eventually don't win a trophy this season. But in terms of his performance this year, I don't think it can really be faulted. I mean, I think it's 36 league goals and assists. I think that's 10
36 goals and 10 assists in 34 appearances in all comps in his first season in the league. I mean, that is just
crazy.
Frightening
36
numbers
in the league alone, which is more. I think it's 10 more than Ollie Watkins. And Bayern, haven't been at their best this year, mainly caused by their summer business last year, not necessarily getting João Palhinha in. They were sort of scrambling around in the final few days of the window. Tuchel obviously leaving at the end of the season, but this guy has upheld his end of the bargain and more.
Best striker in the world for you right now?
Best striker in the world. I just don't think there's anyone close to him, really.
No,
I think he's
I
just
agree.
so decisive. And he's been massive for them as well. Even though in a bad season, it feels like he's still been fantastic, which has sort of been the hallmark of his career. He's been that throughout. Obviously, Spurs has never really won anything, but he's been so good. And I'm gutted for him if he doesn't win anything. I want him to win something.
Stick him up. It's good, though. I think with Dougie's English theme, you mentioned Bellingham there, Foden, Kane, Saka. It bodes well for the Euros, doesn't it? Bodes well for the
So we've got Atletico Madrid up next.
Let's see, you've both picked for Atletico. Pretty epic game in the week, wasn't it? They
Really was.
make it through again.
Look at the controversy between us, as well. It's just,
We're in unison.
Yeah.
I think it's going to get more controversial as it goes on, but Antoine Griezmann's now Atletico Madrid's all-time top goal scorer.
Yeah.
Fourth on the all-time list of appearances and goals for France. And I think he's probably, of the elite players, the most underrated in the world, can play in a variety of different positions. I think the fact that that spell at Barcelona probably didn't go out as people expected, mainly because they brought him in without a clear plan. Messi was still playing in the positions that he likes to play. But he's been sensational once again this year. Can play in midfield as he does for France, can play up front. He's just a brilliant all-round footballer.
What do you think about Griezmann? Where would you have him?
I'd put him in, I think in the 10 is where he's like playing
Really?
best at the moment.
Yeah.
I think he's just unbelievable footballer, one of the best of this current generation, just an all-timer for France and for Atleti. Like you said, the Barcelona move didn't work out, but I think that's just more of a blip in how good he's been since he went back to, since he's been at Atleti. He's been so good.
Yeah. He's been unlucky as well because it was at Atleti, he hasn't won the league. Then he went to Barcelona when Atleti won the league. Then he came back to Atletico, and it's like he's been quite unlucky with regards to league titles. I know he's won trophies in his career, and he's obviously won the World Cup. But do you think that's sort of plays into the fact he is quite underrated because he's sort of been such a key figure for this team, hasn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. It was a little bit unfortunate that season. A couple of years he was at Barcelona. Luis Suarez then joins Atletico Madrid, fires them to a league title.
Yeah.
And that is, Griezmann hadn't joined Atletico Madrid in 13-14 when they won their first league title. So he has kind of missed out on the main moments of club football. But in terms of international football and in terms of consistency as well, this guy is remarkable.
Stick him up. Yeah, he won the Europa League, the new Atletico, and the Copa del Rey with Barcelona, of course, World Cup winner.
Got so unlucky with his timings.
I know. Wherever he goes, the other team seems to win it.
A bit of a Kane syndrome going on.
Next up.
Borussia Dortmund.
Dortmund.
It's going to be a tough one,
I've
this.
gone with Julian Brandt.
I've gone for Kobel.
Why don't you kick off?
Go on, Ellis, you go.
I just think he is, for me, whenever I watch Dortmund play, I think he's always so consistent, so solid as a goalkeeper. I think he has been one of the most consistent goalkeepers for a while now. He's been fantastic for Dortmund the last couple of seasons. Obviously, I'm aware they haven't done fantastically well in the league this season specifically, and last season obviously fumbled the title on the final day of the season, which felt very Dortmund of them to do. But throughout that, I think he's been so solid. And I think it's so important, especially for a Champions League, to have a goalkeeper. You saw it with the Real Madrid-Liverpool final, obviously where Courtois basically single-handedly won Real Madrid the Champions League that day. And I just think he is a difference maker for them. Very nearly went for Brandt myself because he's so consistent. But speaking of consistency, I think this guy could play for anyone in the world and be first choice.
He was in Bundesliga team of the season last season, I believe, as well, wasn't he? So it's a good shout, but you disagree firm. First disagreement.
Yeah, first disagreement. I mean, I think it's nice to have a goalkeeper representative potentially on the list, but I think Julian Brandt, has been ultra consistent for Dortmund and then Bayer Leverkusen before that as well. He was actually the player that Klopp wanted to bring to Liverpool instead of Mo Salah, but Michael Edwards, who's now gone back to Liverpool as head of football operations for FSG, wants to bring in Mo Salah, which has obviously turned out fantastically well.
Not a bad decision overall. He's quite good, isn't he?
It shows how highly Brandt is, rated by the likes of Klopp and in German football. I think he's created more than double any other Dortmund player's chances in the league this season. I think he's been remarkable. He's probably not necessarily one of the headline grabbers in the same way that a Haaland was, a Bellingham was, but this guy can play out left, on the right, in the hole, and is just really, really consistent. And I love watching him play.
Are either of you willing to concede here?
I'd say Dougie's probably got... I'm more of an eye test guy. Dougie's more of he can provide the stats for it. So I'm happy to concede if you guys... Because I feel like he probably knows more about football than me.
I don't know.
I'm not sure about that at all.
Do you know what?
That's a good shout.
I kind of like to see goalkeeper on the list.
I agree.
Can I just shock you? I also agree.
Yeah, there we go.
Let's get Kobler.
Do we shout out Marlon as well? 13 goals, 4 assists, having a decent season. Just a bit of balance, give him some other names in there. Let's go with Real Madrid. I think I know who you're going to pick, but let's see if there is agreement.
Mr. G.
Is this just a no contest? Is he just miles clear, or are we talking Vinicius should be up there as well, potentially?
Very nearly Vinicius as well, yeah. I think it was just... Vinicius is fantastic. I went to the Bernabeu the other week, and he's just so exciting. Everything he does is just so good. It feels like so natural to him to do anything, like take the mick a bit. But Bellingham is just... unbelievable. And he's been so mature since the age of 17. It's like he just felt like he's had that winning mentality, which has been massive for both Madrid and also, I think, for England as well. Obviously, we have to come back to England again. But it's so exciting to have him.
Will he win the Ballon d'Or this season for you?
I think if we win the Euros, and I think if we win the Euros, I can't see why not. I just think he's been... Like, who's had a better season in Europe than him? It's so hard to pick a Ballon d'Or winner at the moment. And for me, it's quite exciting to have an English name in the Ballon d'Or conversation again. It's been so long. And he is just such a leader. At his age as well, it's a joke.
Yeah, I think that's an important point, actually. I've heard a few ex-Real Madrid players say something very interesting about how good he is. The fact that they say the first season at the Bernabeu, it's such a big and can be an intimidating atmosphere that no matter how good you are ability-wise, you can shrink and really feel that pressure. The fact that he's he's top scorer in La Liga, 16 goals, 20 in all comps, in his first season at the age of 20... I mean, are we talking about one of the... Are you talking future Ballon d'Or winner, one of the best players? I mean, how high is his ceiling, do you think?
I think it's unlimited, to be honest. I don't think... If he doesn't win it this year, he'll be in the running for the next 10 years. Yeah. I mean, you talk about Ballon d'Or winners from Real Madrid. Look at the last two. Karim Benzema had ups and downs at Real Madrid. Luka Modric, halfway through his first season, was voted the worst signing of the season. Then responds, obviously, in spectacular fashion, goes on to win all those Champions Leagues. But for this guy to be this good this early at Real Madrid is pretty much unheard of. I think only probably Cristiano Ronaldo can match his first season impact at Real Madrid.
Stick him up.
Get him up.
Next up.
Could be disagreement here. Manchester City.
Yeah.
This is potentially a controversial one. Why don't you go with Kevin De Bruyne? Because I think most people would probably assume Kevin De Bruyne.
I think Kevin De Bruyne just because he's one of the best Premier League... He'd probably be in a Premier League all-time 11 for me already. Like, he is just... such. Like, you've seen, as soon as he came back from injury for City already, just how effective and how much better they've been as a side. He is arguably, for me, one of the best Premier League midfielders of all time. He's in that conversation, obviously.
Has had a lot of injuries this season, though.
Yeah, but I don't think that... When he's on
Do you think I feel like Rodri maybe has just...
We are doing it on the... I mean, by the way, we're both massive fans of De Bruyne. We've said on this show he's one of the greatest midfielders in Premier League history. But if it's on this season, which is what we're doing it on, does Rodri edge it for you?
Well, that's kind of what I
played more games for a start.
He's played more games, and also, he's now 60 games unbeaten in a Man City shirt.
That is ridiculous. It's unbelievable.
He hasn't lost.
And all the games they lose are games that he doesn't play in.
Well, exactly. Yeah, he missed the Spurs game, he missed the Wolves game, he missed the Villa game, all their three
games. The League Cup game.
Exactly. And this guy is just ultra consistent. His physique, he dominates the centre of the park. His passing's unheard of. In terms of long-range passes, so over 30 yards this season, only 2 players in the entire league, Pickford and Flecken, so 2 goalkeepers, have completed more than him. Like that, and this is not a side that are known for their long-range passing. He dominates the entire space, and I think he's been remarkably consistent. If we're in any other era which didn't value goals and assists so highly, I think this guy would be in the running for the Ballon d'Or every year.
Oh. Wow.
Oh, big statement.
Big shout that.
He wins the debate.
Do we think we go just
I think we go Rodri.
Yeah.
I think this season, I think, Phil Foden was also another candidate here, I think, for Man City. He's having, his standout season, obviously, at Manchester City and wonderfully technical. But Rodri added goals to his game, hasn't he, as well, and creation to his game. So
I think he's so important in that role as well. I think he's one of the players, when he comes out of that team, you notice it more than a lot of players in a City shirt. PSG next.
I think
this might be one of the easiest ones ever.
It's got to be this guy. I mean, Ellis already mentioned him.
Being dropped at the moment.
Well, yeah.
He's not being arrested, he's being dropped.
He's being dropped. I think Luis Enrique's looking ahead to the post-Mbappe era. It feels like that move to Real Madrid is happening. Is that the right thing to do, do you think, though? It's a difficult one, isn't it? I mean, PSG, other forwards this season, Rando Colomwani, Gonzalo Ramos have struggled. Ousmane Dembele's had a good year, but he definitely hasn't scored enough goals. So you know, PSG's form is suffering, but they are still 10 points clear at the top of Liga, and he's being rested, I think, crucially.
Is he being rested, Dukes? This is a statement, isn't it, by the club saying...
coming up against Barcelona, and he can finally, you know, there's a very decent chance. PSG, I think, on that side of the draw, should reach the final. Mbappe could leave PSG having clinched a Champions League. And the way he's performed in major tournaments for France over the years, this guy consistently rises to
We
the
say
big
there's a lot with
occasions.
PSG, though, about the Champions League. They seem to always fall short. That we have been here before. And we've got some unbelievable names on here. You're talking about Ballon d'Or and best players, the likes of Bellingham, the likes of Kane. You were talking about Rodri then. Where does Mbappe rank for you in terms of the greatest players in the world right now?
He's got to be in the top 3, but it's a really weird one as well, isn't it? Because there's
he not one?
On current form, I'd say it's
Bellingham?
probably Jude, I'd say, at the moment. But it's so close, isn't it? Because we've had this whole Real Madrid thing for years, and I'm so bored of it. Just move. Just do it. Just get over it now. It's just like... He's also brilliant at football. Good take. But it's like, yeah, he's just phenomenal. Yeah, top 3 in the world, and he is the difference maker. And he will obviously play in the Champions League because they're so focused on the Champions League, that club are.
He'll definitely play in the Champions League. Right, stick him down. Last one, then.
Could be a bit of disagreement here, finally.
Ooh.
Best player for Barcelona this season.
Now, Ellis, have you picked this just because of your Leeds connections?
Yeah, you are a Leeds fan, Ellis, aren't you? Just remind
yeah.
me of that.
So, yeah, I can't lie. But it's also, because we're looking on current form, obviously, like, I'd have went for a Gavi or a Pedri, but both of them are injured.
Yeah.
And obviously, Yamal's been fantastic, and he's got a lot of attention on him, maybe only 16. But I feel like he's such a difference maker. But not the last season, maybe more. I'm going to struggle to win this debate, I can tell. But there's a lot of bias here. Like, I've seen him. He's the best player to play for Leeds in my lifetime. Obviously, it's relevant to this season, but he is still being quite effective. I'm aware Barcelona fans aren't actually that for him.
Yeah.
But that makes me root for him even more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dougie, give us a bit of insight on this man, because you've watched him a lot. He's 16 years of age, youngest starter in La Liga. He looks unbelievable player.
Yeah, he really does. And, I mean, Barcelona's finances over the last few years have made sure that they've had to sell a lot of stars. Like Ousmane Dembele left in the summer, and Ansu Fati was loaned to Brighton, and they were suddenly quite short in forward areas. But out of La Masia comes this 16-year-old who looks so comfortable at that level already. He's been absolutely brilliant in big moments. And as Ellis rightly points out, like, they've lacked a lot of players in terms of injuries this year. Not just Pedri and Gavi, but Frenkie de Jong's been injured at different points. Like, they've needed players to step up, and it's a 16-year-old over Robert Lewandowski, over Gundogan, who's provided the best moments of their season.
If you stick him up, I think Dougie
Lamine just sneaks in there, given that they do play a similar role as well, don't they? And I think if you were to ask Barcelona fans, 100 out of 100 would side with Lamine Yamal. And that's maybe maybe a bit dark or a feeling.
Yeah, no offence, Ellis, 100 out of 100. But anyway, there is confirmation of who our guests agree the best player from every club left in the Champions League. Let us know what you think about that.